If you disappear today for 30 days, what would happen in your business? Truth is, they haven't built a business. They have actually built a job. Stop being the engine of your business. Become the architect instead. What can I build today that will save me time tomorrow? Very warm welcome here for another episode of Skillionaires, the podcast where stories stick and strategies scale. And today's podcast, I have brought you a very inside episode. One of my single episodes is always about helping you, supporting you in your business growth. So sometimes I'm taking the time, like I'm doing this with my Skillionaire class in my mentoring, to actually educate you about what is business growth, to maybe only inspire you, but leading to the next step. So let me start with one simple question. If you disappear today for 30 days, what would happen in your business? What would happen in your company? Would your company still grow, still even run? Would your clients receive the same level of service? Or would your team exactly do what? Would everything maybe come even to a stop? For example, many entrepreneurs, they have exactly this dilemma where they have never been on a vacation, where they cannot balance their entrepreneurship. They have actually not done anything for themselves. And I think this is such an old pattern of misconception in entrepreneurship. I'm not saying that you should take all lavish, expensive vacations every month, but I'm saying you should actually build on the right concept of your business, so it's not only nurtured by your talent, by your time, by your effort, but by your knowledge. But you should nurture a business model and build on it that also can sometimes stay alone, not in the very beginning. So would everything come actually to a stop? For many entrepreneurs, that's actually a difficult question, because the truth is they haven't built a business. They have actually built a job, and that's a big difference. And today I wanted to talk about what I really mean to build a business that runs without depending on you, and you being there every single day. Because in my expertise, this is where true scaling is actually beginning. The first shift in this is actually stop being the engine of your business. Become the architect instead. An architect doesn't build every wall by himself. An architect designs the system that you wanted to delegate the building. Many entrepreneurs wake up every morning asking, what do I have to do today? Successful business owners ask different questions. They ask, what can I build today that will save me time tomorrow? That's one of the questions that changes actually everything. The second, that is actually implemented, it shifts your whole documentation of success. If your team consistently asks you the same questions, you don't have actually a people problem. You have a system problem. Every repeated task should become a documented process. Whenever we do something new, I tell my employees, make a process and document it so we learn from it and we can take this on for the next time to save time. How do we onboard, for example, our clients? It's such an important thing, and you do this all the time. There needs to be a structure. How do we respond to inquiries? This is also such an important thing to see what is actually working in your sales. How do we handle complaints? It is important not to get a false reputation and a bad reputation in the market. How do we deliver excellency every single time? Every answer like that should exist somewhere else than in your head, because your business cannot grow at all faster then your abilities of transferring the knowledge, if you feel and know and realize that things are not moving forward because you are the bottleneck, then it's time for you to change this and make processes out of this situation. Sometimes when I'm preparing my whole week, I'm not being in the operational, but I'm thinking through who I can task with what task to actually fulfill something, to also create a whole good team workflow. So one of the questions that this one has, one of the dependency in the task fulfillment, my one employee has to be dependent on the task that the next one has to do. So this is the kind of work that you should also do. The third shift is actually leadership. Many entrepreneurs believe they need just better employees, but this is totally not the truth. I don't always agree with that. Most teams don't need more motivation. They need more clarity. And people perform better if they have actually an exceptional, clear leadership. One of my employees actually has worked under a very pressure culture in his previous companies. And this pressure toward him results in our daily life always to a kind of tension where he brings up his guard and thinks he has to defend himself. And it takes some good leadership to understand this burden of this person, this pattern of this person. And it takes your leadership to unfold the skills that this person has underneath this old pattern of old leadership of pressure. And if you wanted to implement this kind of culture in your business, that is also a very big responsibility that you have. And that's also a big point of where you can grow, because if you exchange only your employees' underwear, then it's only burning money. So that is a big shifting where you also have to get your recruitment really strong on a time effective way, and then unleash the talent of your employees. When success is measurable, leadership isn't about controlling the people. It's about creating an environment where people can actually succeed without constantly being supervisioned. And then we have the fourth shift, is learning to let go. Yes, I know everyone has that. Every founder of the business has that, especially when they develop the product, especially when they are sometimes the delivery of the product. And that is often the hardest part, because your business feels personally to you and you have cared deeply about it, deeply about your clients. You want everything to be perfect, of course. But here is where what you have to learn. Often, no company can scale if every decision has to go through one single person. And that's why you have to build up competencies in your team, delegate, and hold them responsible for the outcome. Delegating is not losing control. Delegating is actually creating capacity and time for you. And capacity allows your growth and the growth of the whole company. So the fifth is actually building a culture that people wanted to be with you, that a culture what people do when you are not in the room, the culture of where they actually intaker with what you taught them when you were there. It's not about your mission statement on the wall. It's not your company's values written in any kind of handbook. It's not the behavior of your team repeats every single day. When your culture is strong, you don't have to manage every detail. People make better decisions because they understand the bigger vision of it. So now let me connect this to the Middle East. One of the reasons businesses grow here so quickly. Here has everything speed. Markets move so quickly and fast. Opportunities appear quickly. Partnerships happen quickly. But speed without a system creates only the chaos. And that's why entrepreneurs who scale successfully don't just move fast. They build businesses that can move fast constantly. And that's a huge difference. So here's a simple exercise I'd like you to do today. Do it right now. Press pause and take a piece of paper. Draw 2 columns. On the left side, write down everything you personally do every week. On the right side, you ask yourself one question. Can this be automated? Can this be delegated? Can this become maybe a system? And if the answer is yes, start building it today. Start building your system. One process at a time. One improvement at a time, because great companies never build overnight. They're building through thousands of small improvements repeated constantly. I'll leave you with the last final thought. The goal of entrepreneurship isn't become busier every day, every year. It's the goal to create an impact while becoming less dependent on your time. And that's what freedom is actually looking like. And that's what's actually scaling also looks like. And that's why you probably started to become an entrepreneur in the first place. And that kind of business is worth building a business. So I hope I could inspire you today a little bit, maybe also challenging your perspective a little bit. If you feel you wanted to share this with somebody, I'm highly appreciating. Send this video to those persons who say it's only done by me, or I have never time, or I work 12 hours, because they might get another perspective and you bring them not only something new to know, but also remind them how valuable time is. So they need to hear this. Just imagine how grateful they are when they can actually keep building, keep improving, and remember you sending them this video. So don't just build a business that depended on you. Build a business that continues growing because of the system and the people that have actually shared your vision that you have created. So I'm looking forward for your comment, and if you wanted to book a Skillionaire strategy session, you find all details for that in the show notes and in the info box. I say goodbye for now, till the next podcast guest and the story that sticks with the strategies that scale. Ma salama!